So let's make sure that we've got a sound. Can you hear me in the back? Excellent, excellent. So just to keep the facts straight, I was the editor-in-chief at Esquire, not the publisher. But so, and I was also the CEO, so I had actually one of the few times in life when you get to have the cat's meow, because I got to be creative in the way I wanted because I didn't have a boss. And that was a very, talk about the hand in the monkey's trap. That was very hard. I decided at 36, I had not planned on talking about this at all, but I decided at 36 that I wanted to leave it all behind. And so I said to my friends, you know, I'm just going to quit. Next year I won't be here. Nothing would happen. Then it's okay now, you know, I got lost, I got distracted, but I'm going to leave. It took me 4 years to finally walk out the door because it was so sweet, the life I had. It was not so deeply satisfying in terms of the kinds of things that bring you here tonight. But it was very sweet. It was very interesting, exciting, lots of impact in terms of the world. So very hard to let go of things when they are things that are going well for us in that way, or if it's something we imagine if we only had that, then we'd really be happy. To let go of that can be so hard. Or there's something that, there was some wrong that occurred, some story we have around that wrong that occurred, and we so hold on to that story. And it's so hard to let go. I mean, really, this is a practice that's quite challenging to the mind and challenging to the heart. James was making many references to letting go of things in the world, but mostly what I want to focus on is letting go of things in our mind and letting go of things in our heart. And I want to start with a quote from one of my teachers, who's a well-known Buddhist teacher, and so he'll make some references to some words you may not be familiar with, but it's all about accomplishing, and you'll catch that, and his own advice in terms of letting go. This is the Venerable Ajahn Sumedho speaking to monks, so he's speaking to other monastics when he's saying this. The practice of letting go is very effective for minds obsessed by compulsive thinking. You simplify your meditation practice down to just 2 words: let go. Rather than try to develop this practice and then develop that practice and achieve this and go into that and understand this and read the suttas and study the Abhidhamma and then learn Pali and Sanskrit and then the Madhyamakaya and then the Prajnaparamita and then get ordinations in the Hinayana and Mahayana and Vajrayana and then write books and become a world-renowned authority on Buddhism. Instead of becoming the world's expert on Buddhism and being invited to great international Buddhist conferences, just let go. Let go. Let go. I did nothing but this for about 2 years. Every time I tried to understand or figure things out, I'd say, let go. Let go. Until the desire would fade out. Can you imagine doing that? For 2 years? And when he says every time, he means every time. He's that kind of a practitioner. So I'm making it very simple for you to save you from getting caught in incredible amounts of suffering. There's nothing more sorrowful than having to attend international Buddhist conferences. So in your answers, you already demonstrate a conceptual understanding of what the subject is. And in many ways, you right now could name 1, 2, 3 things that you know sitting here you should let go of. It's true, isn't it? Not that hard, and yet so hard to do. In the classic teachings around letting go, the description, which and it's called in the Second Noble Truth, and I describe all this in detail in Dancing with Life, so I'm not going to go into it in much detail. But the cause of suffering in the mind is not the external difficulty, which is painful enough in itself, or emotionally difficult, physically difficult, but the way we relate to the world, the way we relate to conditions. And it is in the way that we cling to, grasp onto, or attach to that we end up in suffering, that we end up in so much misery, so much mental torment, so much turbulence of the heart. This is where this originates. And in the Buddha's classic teaching of this, it is that you are to understand it by letting go of that clinging. So every time in your daily life that you feel yourself in that moment holding on to something, in that very moment, if you let go, you are moving away from that kind of suffering. Even though it may be only for a minute, and then it comes right back. But in that moment, you've planted a seed that will one day blossom into joy, that will one day blossom into freedom, into well-being, as James said, when the conditions are right. So we can get consumed with this big arc of an idea. I want to let go. I want to be a person who cleans out my mental closets and my heart closets and my craving closets all the time. I don't want to get any clutter in there. That's a wonderful aspiration. That's a wonderful goal. And you can take that as a goal. You can take that as an aspiration and do things like come to this class that support that. And that's a wonderful part of letting go. But there's a second part of letting go that I think is more important, and that is the immediacy of letting go as a practice in this very moment. In this very moment. I term it having the intention in this moment to let go. The intention to let go, that it is a value. It is how you wish to meet this moment. Is you wish to let go in this moment. It's a value. It's how you want to live your life. You don't want to be someone who grasps, who clings, who's always attached. That's not your value. It's not how you wish to live. And therefore, in this moment, as best you're able, you let go. As best you're able. Not this over arc of my goal is to be a person who's always letting go. But this moment, as best I can, with all of my inadequacy, just as I am, I let go. I let go of this grudge against my sibling who has mistreated me. I let go of my argument with my significant other over who was right and wrong about that decision or about whose turn it was to take out the garbage. This very moment, I let go. Small or large, either way, it is this turning of the heart. It is a developing of a new habit of the mind-heart to be a person that lets go. Because in this moment, that's who's present. It is in manifesting who you are that you become who you are. Otherwise, it's all conceptual. It's all conceptual. So the power of intention, the intention to let go. One thing that I find myself saying repeatedly in speaking with groups about this idea of letting go is that you are not giving up having preferences. You're going to have preferences. You'd rather be comfortable than not. You'd rather your children and your friends and you and all those people be healthy rather than sick. You'd rather have a job that's fun to do, at least at times, than a job that's constant drudgery. These are preferences. You're not letting go of your preferences. You're letting go of your attachment to those preferences. You're letting go of being defined by those preferences in a way that defining of you makes you miserable. and actually makes you less likely to get your preferences. But that's another whole talk. Likewise, you're not letting loose of your goals. You can have goals of all sorts. Hopefully, they're wholesome goals because, as you would have explored in last month's lesson, when the goals are not wholesome, it doesn't usually turn out very well over any kind of sustained period of time. And likewise, hopefully you're using skillful means that have integrity to them as you go about getting your goals. Because again, even if it's a wholesome goal and we employ unskillful means, over time, it doesn't tend to turn out so well. Over time. So therefore, you can have these goals. You can go towards these wholesome goals, employing skillful means, but then you're letting loose of your demand that you get those goals. There is an ease in relation to those goals. I've had all sorts of people hold up their hand to challenge me on that. I've had entrepreneurs want to challenge me. I've had all sorts of medical people want to challenge me and say, that isn't right at all. If I wasn't attached to my goals, people wouldn't get, well, I'm a surgeon, or I've got 500 people working for me, and if I wasn't attached to meeting their payroll and so forth. And I just say, I have a different view. And my experience, having quite a bit of worldly experience, is that extreme attachment makes you less successful as an entrepreneur or a medical person or a school teacher or in a relationship, because it makes you tense, it distorts your view, it makes rigid thinking, and it separates you from intuition. And so often we need that bodily felt sense of intuition for making wise decisions, for rallying people, for knowing what's a creative solution to a situation. And so letting go is something that is practical as well as inspirational in that sense. So, each of you were able to say right away what letting go meant. There was everyone nodding their head when I said you could name 3 ways or name 3 things that you should let go of right now. No trouble with that. And yet, those 3 things exist as of this moment, although I realize since I started talking, maybe you've completely let go of everything. But for the rest of us who still work with this letting go practice, why is it so hard to do? Why is it so hard to let go? I mean, really, giving yourself some credit here. I mean, you're reasonably bright. You've got common sense. So holding on doesn't work so well. You've tried that for years and years, and it hasn't worked out. So why is it so hard? Why don't you just let go? Well, it's easy to treat ourselves as though, well, we're just inadequate, or we're weak, or there's something wrong with us, or we're inferior, something like this. But yet, everyone has this problem with letting go. So what we see when we step back and we look at it objectively, that there's something in our nature that makes letting go difficult. And then when we think about it, we can understand why that's true. Developmentally, as a baby, you learned by holding on. You were encouraged to hold on. You found your autonomy by holding on, by clinging, by demanding. This is how you developed. You, as a small child, could not make this differentiation between having your goals and holding on. It just wasn't there yet. And so much of our identity gets formed at that age. So the very conditions of our life build in this wiring in the brain towards holding on. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing. We need that. But there comes a point in time when we do have reflective ability, and this changes when this comes about at widely varying ages, as you've witnessed in your own association of friends and acquaintances. But sooner or later, there comes this point when you can differentiate between holding your own, standing up for yourself, going for what matters to you, and this clinging quality, this sticky quality, this grasping quality, this sense of scarcity, this demanding, all of those things that are not helpful towards getting your goals, to standing up for yourself. So you reach a point you can differentiate, but you've got this ingrained habit at this point of mind. You may well have almost no separation between the mind that wants to hold on and your sense of yourself. So it takes reflection to realize, oh, there is a difference here. I am not this thought of holding on. It's just a thought in the mind. I am not this accumulation of my story or this sense of this urgency that I've got to have everything I want. Those two are just thoughts. Those are old emotional habits in the form of thoughts. And you realize, oh, yes, there is some space here. And so then the sense of really committing to a practice of letting go becomes a more genuine possibility. You can differentiate. You can actually find the space. You can see the habits of mind as just habits of mind, just thought patterns. And you start to have more room. But then you run into yet one more challenge that makes letting go so difficult. Our very sense of identity. So many times, it's not clear who you would be if you let go. If you let go of this grudge against your brother or sister, who would you be in relation to that person? Would you give up something? Would you lose something? Would you lose your sense of autonomy? If you let go of your extreme urgency to get what you want, would you lose your effectiveness in the world? If you let loose of holding on to your views and opinions, would you become a pushover? If you let go of this whole grasping orientation to life, would you become apathetic? You may not consciously think any of those things, but they are there in the psyche. And so it takes a kind of coaching, a kind of going through with the clarity of mind to say, no, I can choose to let go. I can choose. You don't do this all at once. It's a gradual practice over time. So you start with areas which are not so highly charged. So there's a little dispute about something in your household. You let go of that argument. There's this thing that you do over and over again that get frustrated when you don't get it your way. You let go of that. They don't fix the coffee right or whatever it is. You say, no, this is a chance for me to practice let go. I'm going to let go of being upset about that. I've told them how to fix it. I've demanded it. None of that's worked. So I'm going to let go. Not of my preference, but of my demand to have my preference. I'm going to let go of being upset. I will not allow myself to be upset over this thing. And then another and another, and some things that are quite dramatic you start to experiment with and see if you can do this. All the time, respecting that this is a very courageous practice. One that is to be approached with great, great respect and care. And so then how do we let go? We let go through inspiration and aspiration. We let go because we're inspired by seeing someone else that has been more able to let go of things, and you feel the freedom they have, the ease in their life, and that really inspires you, and you go, I want to be like that. I want that sense of well-being. It's worth taking the chance. It's worth making the effort. It's worth the sacrifice. And in aspiration, you read or you hear about someone who's done this, and anything from a novel to a nonfiction book to an inspiration talk to just something that you've heard on the radio and NPR or something, and you're inspired by that. And so out of this inspiration, you start moving in this direction. You can move slowly. It's not the speed. It's not the scope. But it's the constancy. It's the repetition of letting go. It's over and over again connecting to this intention. So that's the first way through, inspiration and aspiration. And then the second is by reflecting on how much stress, frustration, how much dissatisfaction, emotional pain, lost opportunities that the not letting go causes. So you reflect on this. You ask yourself, okay, I have this habit of not letting go in this area. How's it working out? How's it worked out thus far? Maybe I don't have so much to lose by letting go. Maybe it doesn't matter that much. Still with this compassion, this tenderness, this loving kindness towards yourself. And then you simply repeatedly practice. And the practice always has this just now quality. Not this conceptual, oh yes, I'm a person who wants to let go. That's my identity. I'm a person who lets go. No identity. No proclaiming. Just let go. It's practice. It's immediacy of practice. If you learn this orientation, it will serve you well in so many areas of your life. The immediacy of practice. So I've talked so much about intention to let go. We can have an idea, we can have this value about letting go. Intention is where the rubber meets the road. It's where your values and your actual thoughts, words, and actions happen. Intention is what bridges those two. And intention to let go is partially an attitude. You have this attitude of that you're looking around to notice where you're holding and see an opportunity to let go. It's partially a goal. My goal is to let go in this moment, to let go of this, because this is what's come up, to let go of that. Trying to figure things out, I'm letting go of that. Trying to control all of the things that you named. So it's partially an attitude, partially a goal, partially an understanding. You understand that not letting go is the cause of suffering. And it's partially a practice. You're practicing as best you're able. And then maybe most of all, it is a lived value. I don't want to be a person who puts my hand in that monkey trap. I don't want to be that. That's not how I want to live my life. So this lived value, I'm living my life. It's so brief. It's so short. It's so precious. I will not waste it by spending my energy holding on. I will not live that way. But I did want to, tonight, have us do a little taking of vows that you can just try on and see how this works for you in terms of letting go. And it has to do with the attitude of mind. It's a practice in that. And I do this every Sunday evening at the San Rafael Marin Sangha. I have a community meditation group in San Rafael, and all of you are welcome to drop in any Sunday evening. And we do this. We do this at the beginning of every sit, and it is to let loose of judging, letting loose of judging mind. Anyone in here not know their judging mind? Letting loose of comparing mind, which is a little different than judging mind. Judging is you create this, I'm lazy, or I'm not focused, or I'm a whatever. You're judging yourself good and bad. Comparing is you're just comparing to another person, or comparing to who you used to be, or who you think you're supposed to be. It's just an endless comparing. I can see by the looks on faces that people understand that difference. And then, so letting loose of judging, comparing, and letting loose of fixing. We spend so much time in our minds doing these three things. We judge ourselves, good, bad. We then compare, or we judge someone else, good or bad. We compare ourselves to others. And then we, in our minds, fix it over and over and over and over again. Now, Out there, it doesn't tend to get fixed so often. But in our minds, we fixed it 10,000 times. So much of our energy, so much of our space. So I just did this for a group of dedicated practitioners of meditation that we had a retreat, and I did this for them as a vow for the whole retreat. So I'm going to ask you to just try this on for the next 24 hours. We're going to do a little vow together, in which you're going to be invited to say, I vow not to judge. I'll change the word slightly than that, and I vow not to compare. And you will forget this many times, but a lot of times you'll remember, and see if you can let loose. So I will say a line, and then you repeat it out loud. So here we go. I let loose of judging. I let loose of comparing. I let loose of fixing. So 24 hours. I came in here thinking I was going to ask you to do it for the rest of the week, and I chickened out. You know, as I come to a close here, St. John of the Cross, I don't know how many of you have read his writing, but he talks about letting loose. And he talks about letting loose of hope. Letting loose of hope for salvation. And that this is an important part of the spiritual journey of letting loose. And that's very worthy of reflection. Because we can think that, oh, well, in our spiritual journeys, there's something to hold on to. But not according to St. John of the Cross, and certainly not according to a lot of other wise elders in a number of different traditions. It's very difficult to open at that level. But as you start to explore letting go, you will find yourself dropping into more subtle levels of this. And you will see ironies and you'll see paradoxes that really make for a rich experience that you're having with yourself. And as a result, you start to move from a reactive mind state, as James said earlier. A reactive mind is a mind that is controlled by pleasant and unpleasant, like a puppet on two strings. If it's pleasant, you go this way. If it's unpleasant, you go this way. That's a kind of dance with life, but it's certainly limited. So you move from that reactive mind state to a responsive mind state where you have choice that is beyond the pleasant and unpleasant. You let loose of whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. You decide based on your heart's deepest values. That, to me, is the real dance with life. When we start to feel this, we feel it in our bodies. There's a relaxation in our bodies that makes a huge difference. We also feel it in our minds and in our hearts. There's a sense of well-being, a sense of dignity. You can let loose of something that you've really been fighting about. But when you choose to let loose of it, there's some ease, there's some spaciousness, physical spaciousness, and some sense of dignity, or sometimes a sense of humility, sometimes a sense of amusement, sometimes a sense of compassion. There is a felt sense that it's such a wholesome feeling when we let go. Thank you for your attention, and remember your vows for 24 hours.